Try to remove China from your daily life, not just your phone, your car battery, your air conditioner, your antibiotics, even the bolts in your office chair. In less than 30 seconds, you fail. This is not politics. This is supply chain physics. China did not become the world's factory because of cheap labor. That story ended years ago. It became the world's factory because of three things: complete supply chains, massive scale, and a workforce that no other country can match. Let's speak the language that numbers demand. In 2024, China exported over $3.5 trillion worth of goods. That is twice Germany's exports, 3 times Japan's, more than Vietnam, India, and Mexico combined. One single province, Guangdong, exports more than Russia or Australia. One city, Shenzhen, exports more than all of sub-Saharan Africa. When a single terminal in Ningbo shut down during the pandemic, car factories in Detroit and Stuttgart stopped production within weeks. That is not dependence, that is structural entanglement. Here is the secret that economics textbooks miss. Efficiency is not just about cheap wages. Efficiency is distance. In China, if you need a custom screw, a lithium battery, a printed circuit board, and a cardboard box, all 4 suppliers are often within 2 kilometers. In Shenzhen, you can get a working prototype in 7 days. In the United States or Europe, the same process can take 4 months. This is not because Chinese people work faster. It is because the entire supply chain lives under one postal code. Lower distance means lower logistics cost. Lower waiting time means lower inventory cost. Together, they create a structure that other countries cannot copy quickly. We tried to move one production line to Mexico, just one. The labor cost was okay, but every single component, the molds, the connectors, the specialized glue, we still had to fly them in from Shenzhen. In the end, we saved almost nothing. This is the first layer of irreplaceability, completeness plus density. No other country has this. Now add a second engine, China's domestic market, almost 1.5 billion people, over 400 million middle-class consumers. That is a market larger than the entire population of the United States and Europe combined. A factory that sells to both domestic buyers and foreign buyers can produce at a scale that no Vietnamese or Indian factory can match. More volume means lower fixed cost per unit. Lower cost per unit means more competitive prices. More sales mean more money to reinvest in better machines, better training, and better design. This is what economists call a scale flywheel. It is the same flywheel that made German cars and Japanese electronics dominant in their time, but China's flywheel is 10 times bigger. Higher volume also makes products more mature. If you produce 10 million units of a power bank or a drone, you find every single design flaw. You fix it, then you improve it. After 10 million units, your product is not cheap anymore. It is cheap and reliable. That is a combination that low-volume countries cannot achieve. Machines can be bought, ports can be built, but you cannot buy a workforce that works like this. The average Chinese factory worker does not see overtime as exploitation. They see it as a path, tuition for a child, a new home, a way out of rural poverty. In thousands of private factories, workers ask for overtime because piece rate pay directly rewards effort. Wages in Chinese manufacturing have risen 8 to 10% every year for a decade. This is not the cheap labor story of the 1990s. This is a culture where manufacturing still holds dignity, where a grandfather who assembled shoes takes pride that his daughter now programs industrial robots. My mother worked 18 hours a day in a garment factory. I went to school, then university. Now I check circuit boards. I do not see her life as sad. I see it as a bridge. Compare this to wealthier nations where factory work is often seen as a last resort, or to lower income countries where labor discipline and consistency vary enormously. China's workforce has a trait psychologists call non-cognitive intensity, the ability to show up, focus, and repeat precision tasks for years. That is not low wages, that is mental stamina, and it cannot be outsourced. 20 years ago, made in China meant cheap and breakable. That reputation was real, but it is now history. Today, China produces more industrial robots than any other country. China already has over 1.5 million installed industrial robots, and it adds hundreds of thousands every year. In many new factories, human workers do not assemble products anymore. They service the machines that assemble products. China also leads in electric vehicle batteries, solar panels, drones, and high-speed rail equipment. These are not low-quality sectors. These are sectors where quality is everything. High quality did not arrive by accident. It arrived because scale created the profits to invest in automation, and automation created the precision to move into high-end markets. The same country that once made disposable lighters now makes MRI machines and lithium-ion batteries for Tesla and BMW. India has young people. Vietnam has low wages. Mexico has proximity to the United States. But none of them have the whole system. A shoe factory in Vietnam still buys needles, threads, and packaging material from China. A smartphone assembly line in India still imports display panels, camera modules, and lithium batteries from China. In many cases, moving final assembly out of China actually increases total cost because the components still come from China, now with extra shipping and tariffs. To fully replace China, you would need 200 million skilled manufacturing workers, 1 million new engineers every year, tens of thousands of kilometers of high-speed rail, hundreds of industrial clusters, and a culture that respects factory work. No country has that, not even close. We ran a simulation to replace even 30% of China's manufacturing output. You would need to rebuild the industrial base of an entire continent. That takes decades, if it is even possible. This does not mean China's position is forever, but it means for the next 10 to 15 years, any serious attempt to fully decouple would break global supply chains first. China's manufacturing strength is not a secret. It is the result of 3 decades of infrastructure, scale, automation, and human effort. The supply chain is complete. The costs are low, not because wages are low, but because distance is short. The scale is enormous because both the world and China's own people buy from the same factories. And the workforce, disciplined, skilled, and willing, remains the hidden asset that no trade war can touch. Can India or Vietnam ever replace China? Not in this decade, probably not in the next. China has already moved from cheap to capable, and that is the hardest thing to replace.